Is that Fran Bush? Oh, snap. All right.
There you go.
Fran Bush, I so thank you for calling. I don't know if you know who I am. I interviewed you years ago on WTN. So you're talking about Adrienne Battle and how she has blood on her hands. So we're trying to figure out, number one, why exactly is it that they pulled these, from your perspective, why did they pull these metal detectors out of the schools?
Well, thank you for having me. My dear friend Christy Mayo, she texted me and told me to call in, so thank you for having me. First and foremost, Dr. Battle has done a horrible job, first of all, managing our safety supports in our schools. Before I left the school board, this was one of my biggest pushes to get metal detectors in all schools, especially to get safety handled in our elementary schools. And I also push for the ballistic glass so that we can also protect the lower part of the schools if there was some type of shooting. So she has done a miserable job on supporting our schools, and now she's trying to wiggle her way out by using fancy words to camouflage her failures to what happened.
Fran?
Yes, are you there?
Oh, she's there.
Yeah, I did. I think you dropped out. So she's trying to wiggle her way out of responsibility. Has there been any response to when you said in the media that she's got blood on her hands? Has there been any response from Adrienne Battle?
No, because she knows that I'm onto her. She knows this is one of my biggest push, and she completely ignored, and also the board at the time ignored the conversation of moving forward with putting metal detectors in the school, because God forbid, I knew this was going to happen one day. I knew it was going to happen. And when I got that news feed to come across my phone that this happened, my stomach was, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
What was the, Fran, if I can ask, so I'm trying to figure out, so were metal detectors in the school and then they were pulled out of Antioch High School? Were they ever installed? I'm seeing two sides of the story.
Well, and it's a very big question, because she claims that they were in the schools and they were pulled out. For whatever reason they were pulled out, I'm not sure. They're also talking about some type of camera, and you all have seen that's supposed to detect weapons before anyone enters into the school, and that failed. So what they're doing is trying to cover up their failures of supporting safety in our schools. And Mayor O'Connell, everybody is doing this to try to help protect her. And this is not. And this is.
Fran, I gotta ask this question. Why is everybody trying to protect Adrienne Battle? I mean, clearly, I remember when she didn't want SROs in the schools. I mean, it goes on and on, all of the things and it just doesn't make any sense as to why she doesn't want to keep these schools safe. It has been proven time and again, and you know this,
yes,
that metal detectors in schools would help to keep students safe. And by the way, if the taxpayers of Tennessee and of Nashville paid for those metal detectors, then they ought to be in the schools protecting the kids as opposed to being installed and then pulled out, unless there's a good reason why they were pulled out.
Let me tell you something. We had $400 million of ESSER funds, and that's the funding that came down from the federal government during COVID. We had an opportunity at that time, looking at those funds, that safety equipment could be an option of purchasing to protect our schools. We had that language was there. We could use it for safety. We could use it for education on books and blah blah blah. We could have used that money. So there's no reason why we should not have them in the schools. We've had every opportunity to do so. When we had those cameras that, it was the temperature checks. When the schools had to do the temperature checks, we had a machine. We have a machine in every school that could have been upgraded to a metal detector. We had a company that demonstrated this, that owned the machines. So no, it has nothing to do with money. And that's the reason why money hasn't come up, because she knew she had an opportunity to get that done.
Fran, let me ask you a question. This is Joan. I wanted to ask you a question about Adrienne Battle talking about the unintended consequences of having metal detectors. What is she referring to there?
I think everyone wants to ask her that question because I think it's a bunch of foolishness. This is an opportunity to, again, to camouflage and wash down why she did not do her job. Adrienne Battle is a narcissist. She wants to be in control. She wants to have the power and make the decisions over her district, over her school district. This is her behavior, and this has to stop. Either she gets out or she get it together.
Let me ask you, Fran. We were talking earlier before you came in, before you called in, and I appreciate that. The state legislature had Governor Leon yesterday and Scott Sapicki as well. They allocated a bunch of money for, mental health services and this kind of a thing for school districts across the state. We know that this kid, he was busted for bringing a box cutter into the school. That's number one. Number two, he had threatened a teacher. And so I don't know if, number one, I don't know why he was in school in the first place. Number two, if you read this kid's manifesto, clearly he had mental health issues. So in your experience, do you believe that money that has been allocated for student mental health services or whatever, is that being utilized appropriately? How could we better use that money?
Well, I will be honest with you. When I was in the school, when I was on the board, we had a huge shortage of social workers in our schools. And this was an opportunity, if we were fully staffed, that we're able to identify the mental health of our students. And unfortunately, it slipped through the cracks. Normally, we would have a zero tolerance policy that if you threaten or bring any weapons in the school, you're expelled. And I'm totally shocked that, finding that out that it wasn't done. So yeah, we have a system that's failing our children. And unfortunately, we have a director of school, that Dr. Adrienne Battle, that just, she's on another land. I mean, she's not on a playing field with us. So this is why we need to either you do something about this, and this is what's going to happen. She's going to have all this pressure on her, and this is what's going to happen, and then she's going to start trying to make a move. That's the only reason why now she's having this conversation, because of what happened. Okay,
so I guess my question is, and I don't know, I probably should know this, but is there a possibility that we can start some sort of a recall? Can you recall a school board member?
Well, she is not an elected official. She was hired by the school board. So it would be up to the school board to fire her.
Then here's what we maybe do. Maybe what we do is we start putting a lot of pressure on the school board to fire Adrienne Battle. Maybe that's what we need to do. I would love to hear from the school board. How can you, as a school board, one of your main jobs is to protect the students, and you've got somebody in charge who clearly isn't interested in protecting the students.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's also on their hands.
Fran Bush, if we want to try to do something like this, would you help us on WTN?
Yeah, I absolutely would, because what happened, we lost a child.
Yep.
Right? And this is something that is one was too many. And I said this. And I haven't been able to sleep for 2 nights now, because we have to do something about this. And even during the press conference and other conversations she's had, she still doesn't get it. She still doesn't get it. And the board, shame on the board, because this is what happened when I was on the board. They allow her to do whatever she wants. And that's not how you do. We manage our one employee, and we expect our one employee to do their job. And that's everything. And if you can't do it, that's why we pay you the big bucks. And if you can't do it, then you need to go.
Yes, I fully agree. And if the school board won't hold her accountable, then maybe the people of Nashville need to hold the school board accountable.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Fran, I cannot thank you enough for calling in at the last moment, and very much appreciated. Going to go ahead and put her on hold. And, unfortunately, y'all know what happens in some of these cities, like Nashville and other cities as well, where you see that these kinds of policies have negative and sometimes deadly consequences. And that is what happened at Antioch High School. Clearly. And so now the question is, what are we going to do about it? What will the city of Nashville do about it? I don't know if, WTN, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, people in Nashville, I don't know how often they listen to us, but I think that school board, if they don't hold Adrienne Battle accountable, then that school board has to be held accountable.